is all a part of it. My best friend, Katie, an Aggie alum. She invited me to College Station for a highly anticipated football weekend. We didn't have tickets to the game, but we were going to stay for free at her friend Candace's house. And then on the ride there on Friday evening, she casually mentioned, Candace's house is not very big, and she only has 2 beds and a couch, and there are like about 12 people staying there. It's college. So I think our best bet would be to find 2 guys who are roommates and go home with them that night. That way we can sleep in real beds and stay together, At that moment in my life, that sounded totally reasonable, Katie had graduated 4 years earlier, but a lot of her friends still lived in College Station, and they all hung out at the same college bars even after graduating. Apparently, she had always had a crush on one of those guys specifically, Al, who after 8 years still had not finished his degree. Hey, she said, don't tell Al that you're in grad school. He's really self-conscious when women are smarter than him. And I said, wow, Al sounds like a fucking gem. Totally see why you've had a crush on him for 8 years, buddy. And not to cut short one of the greatest love stories of our time, but Katie landed her dream guy, and we both ended up at Al's house. Katie and her Prince Charming shared his bed. Well, a completely unmemorable Ginger and I shared an air mattress on the floor next to their bed. Tried to kiss me, but I wasn't into it, so I just kind of like turned over and went to sleep, hope for the best. It's college after all. In the middle of the night, I woke up to Katie falling on top of me. She was drunk, so I assumed she'd rolled off a bed, and I shrugged it off and just kind of went right back to sleep. The next morning, Katie and I will walk of shaming through the Sonic drive-thru, and I asked her, Katie, do you remember falling on top of me in the middle of the night? Did you roll off the bed or something? She started giggling. No. I'd just given Al head, and I didn't want to swallow it, so I was trying to get back to the bathroom to spit. Ugh. Ugh. So you performed fellatio on a chauvinistic pig? Chauvinistic? Well, I was sleeping literally a foot away and then tripped and fell on me with a mouthful of his cum. This incident did not ruin our friendship. We ate breakfast sandwiches. Showered off the shame of the night before, donned some skimpy sundresses, and were at the tailgate by 10 a.m. Katie was a little more hungover than me, so she plopped in a chair, fell right asleep, but I just kind of continued drinking, and we sort of lost track of each other until I found my way back to the house to regroup, probably around dinner time, where I found Katie and Candace and some guy, Chad. None of us knew who Chad was, but he couldn't find his friends, so we accepted him into the fold. Or rather, he was the number one sober man, and we needed to get him to take us to eat food. Candace, on the other hand, was absolutely nothing close to sober at all. And she'd been drinking Four Loko all day and was 100% unintelligible. We piled into the cab of Chad's truck and drove to some sports bar and took the only available seats, which were at the bar. Candace immediately fell asleep on the bar, which then we were told that violates TABC rules. So then we were asked to move to a table in the main seating area, and then she went to the bathroom and never came back. And then the restaurant manager found her asleep in the bathroom, and then he asked us to take our food and leave. So we did. Chad drove us home, and Candace continued being a hot mess. She was lying down in her front yard and dumping the entire contents of the largest purse available out in the grass looking for her house key. Once inside, she found her dress stupid and removed it. And laid down on the kitchen floor in her strapless bra and thong. I sat down on the floor next to her and I ate my leftovers while Katie and Chad leaned against the wall eating theirs. So I was eating. Candace turns to me and she goes, "You're so nice to me. I thought Katie was my best friend. But look at her sitting over there. She's laughing at me." She was slurring while she was rolling around on the tile. And this seemed very platonic and kind of friendly funny to me. But I also feel like you may find it important to know that the night before she'd been trying to make out with me repeatedly as I rejected her sadly. As she rolled around, her strapless bra slipped down and her boobs billowed out. I felt sorry for her because she was such a dumpster fire, and there was a... And I said, "Whoopsie daisy." And I said, "I'm going to be a good friend." And I just pulled up her dress over her boobies. Then, unexpectedly, Candace jumped on fucking top of me and began beating the shit out of me. I was too stunned to react, but even if I had been expecting it, I would not have known what to do. I have never been in a fight in my life, so I basically rolled into a fetal position trying to get away, but she is so much bigger than me, and she was sitting on my fucking chest, yanking my head back and forth by my ponytail, and then good old Chad pulled me out from under her and whisked me into the other room to see if I was okay. My dress was torn. My hair was ripped. I had tile burns on knees and elbows. I didn't fucking know you could get tile burns. You ever heard of rug tile burn? Chad led me back to the kitchen, where Candace was still wallowing on the floor. Upon seeing the tears that had welled up in my eyes, mostly a visceral reaction to being sat on by a very large woman, Katie had loudly announced, "Oh no, you're crying!" I hurriedly tried to wipe my eyes and be tough, but Candace heard and saw and sat straight up on the floor. She saw a moment of weakness. And as if she was stone cold sober, she clearly enunciated, "Oh my God, I was just kidding! I was kidding!" I fucking lost it. I went off on her. I verbally berated her for being batshit crazy white trash. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for calling you that. I'm sorry you are white trash. She jumped off of the floor, came at me again. Unsurprisingly, I had not learned how to fight in the last 5 minutes. Right? So she lunged at me, so I turned my back to her, I let her bear hug me from behind, and then I just let myself become dead weight and fall straight backwards. Using her as a buffer between me and the tile. In hindsight, she probably could have been seriously hurt, but my theory is that the quantity of Four Loko surging through her fucking veins had turned her into an enormous grizzly bear who wasn't even fazed by the fall. So Chad pulled me off of her, and then he took us all to the living room, and there were two couches running parallel. They were facing each other, and he sat me in the corner of one, and Candace, still in a bra and underwear, on the opposite end of the same couch, and then he and Katie sat facing us, right? So Chad is like, I have a great idea. He's going to show everyone some magic trick to diffuse the tension. So as Chad struggled with basic card tricks, Candace inched closer and closer to me on the couch. And then when she was at arm's reach, she vag tapped me. What's that, you ask, right? What is that? You ever seen teenage boys hit each other when they're in the balls? It's a joke. It's a joke. A 25-year-old woman swatted me, a perfect stranger, in my vagina with the back of her hand. It's the ultimate insult. A year and a half later, I was standing on an altar watching Katie marry the love of her life, her Prince Charming. To my left stood Candace, the maid of honor. But I stayed at a very safe distance where I was sure she wasn't gonna try to vag tap me. I spied a familiar face in the crowd, but I couldn't place him first. Then it hit me. No. It couldn't be. She wouldn't. She wouldn't invite Al, the man whose semen was in her mouth when she fell on top of me, to her wedding. She would, and she did.